Hello there, I hope you're having a wonderful time. Today on Interaction, I will take a question from Adeyemi Ola. It's a Yoruba name, of course. Alright, Adeyemi has sent a question before. I answered him and he sent a second one. I think it's a very interesting question. That's why I'm making this video to answer it. Alright, let's go straight. He says, I've watched videos where people say no work, even experts on Facebook will say no work. He's talking about Brazil. Well, Adeyemi, I think it's relative because anywhere in the world you can find no work or you can find jobs. Depends on your qualification, which is very important. If you are going to a place that is highly sophisticated and you have a low skill, you stand chances of not getting a job. That is why you have to be strategic choosing where you want to travel to, right? So when you are coming to Brazil, make sure you have the right skills that would give you more chances, right? So let's see the first question you put here. Are there survival work for someone till when he or she can master the Portuguese language? Of course, there are jobs or chances you can take as someone who is still learning the language. But let's say statistically, you have lower chances of getting a job, or you might find it very difficult, to find something to do. Let's put it like 25, 30%, 40. That doesn't mean it's impossible. But in case you have Portuguese language, that raises the chances of getting better options to like 80, 90%. So I think it's more strategic if you acquire the Portuguese language first before coming, or when you come with a very strong financial status, or if you even have a scholarship, is better. But there are chances, of course, of you working as a non-Portuguese speaker. But as I said, it's a little bit difficult, all right? And I wouldn't lure you or deceive you to coming and then seeing a different reality. So number 2 says, I read a lot about when someone is even lucky to find a job, the wages is about 1,300 reals. That's the Brazilian reais. Accommodation is about 800 and above for 2 bedrooms. So how will the person feed or survive? 1,300, that's the minimum wage here in Brazil. I'm going to leave the equivalents in Naira. But I think it's not wise when we measure in different currencies because we have different realities. Things might be cheaper in Nigeria than in Brazil. So let's talk about the strategy of choosing a city to live here in Brazil. When you go to big cities, the accommodations are more expensive. So when you go to big cities, you try to increase your earnings, right? That's a good strategy. So don't just depend on minimum wage. You can work a second job, a third one. You can do something to complement your income. So at the end of the day, that would help you to, solve your problems. You wouldn't have to fear paying 800. Let me give you an example. In São Carlos, where I did my doctorate, IT, I was paying 700 per month for just a room that was very small with a bathroom and the kitchen was shared. So I was paying 700. That's expensive, okay? But it's in a very organized city, so you have to be ready to pay higher amount of money, even if your wage is very low. So that is strategy. When you are in big cities, you should try to increase your income, or you should look for smaller cities. And also, I want to tell you something. If you are in Brazil, you should try to buy a house or an apartment. And there is what we call entrada. You should pay that and acquire the building. At the end of the day, the rent you will be paying would serve as, paying the house. So instead of paying the rent of the house, you are paying the house, right? So it's more strategic if you acquire a building. Right, so number 3, I also heard Brazil is so expensive and the wage is poor. That is why I put all those questions to know if it's hard to live over there. Like people will say in the US, once you are working, you can afford all needs, even though you might not be able to save much, but you will live. I don't know if you are affirming or it's a question, but it's somehow tricky because I cannot compare United States to Brazil. I've not lived in the United States. Right? I know people who have said 1 or 2 things about the States, but I've not lived that reality. Okay, I've lived in Brazil, and what I'm telling you now, I'm telling you based on experience. It's somehow my own personal opinion. You might take it or not. So things are expensive, of course, here in Brazil. As I said, if you want to depend on just a minimum wage, then you must be strategic in where you would live in Brazil. You should look for smaller cities. If you go to bigger cities, you must have to work extra so that you can, live well. Okay? You can live a comfortable life if you invest your time. If you work hard, you can live a comfortable life. Most of the things that they import are expensive, right? But things that are national, you find them at a cheaper price. But things that come from outside, they have a very high tax. So you should get ready actually to face that difficulty, right? So we are here, we have adapted to that. We have many Africans living here. They already are used to the high tax rates, right? Somehow you have to survive. That is it. It's either you try to be strategic in where you would live or you try to increase your income. There's no magic about it. If you go to Sao Paulo, there are so many Africans doing well. They have wealth, they have many stuff there. You see them, they are big boys actually, right? But it depends. They invest their time, they work a lot, they don't even have time for rest. They go up and down all the time, hustling, bustling, and but if you choose cities like San Luis, where I live, you can have much time, be able to maybe save more and live a more comfortable life because it's cheaper here. Some things are cheaper.